Hi, I'm Dan McVaugh, and this is Connectivity Evolution. Every year, the Super Bowl is a landmark entertainment event in the US that we Americans look forward to almost as much as holidays like 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We host attending parties or we go to parties with friends and family. We plan in advance, we make food, and we talk endlessly about the game, the halftime show, the commercials. It's a huge representation of American culture. But for those of us in the telecommunications industry and the technology space, it's also a huge representation and a benchmark for how wireless data consumption grows year over year. Every year, the hosting stadium gets upgrades to its technology, including Wi Fi and cellular networks. In anticipation of the massive data consumption by attendees of the game, stadium operators massively build out their Wi Fi networks, cellular operators spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and countless numbers of man hours building more cellular networks, distributed antenna systems, and the like to help support and showcase their networks at this event. Every year, reports come out afterwards highlighting how much data was used on Wi Fi and cellular networks, a testament to attendees' ravenous appetites for selfies, live streaming, betting, and downloading content of all kinds throughout the event. And carriers often ramp up their PR and marketing campaigns as a result, highlighting the quality of their networks and how much their customers use their networks. For example, if we look at Wi-Fi data that's provided by companies like Extreme Networks over the last 10 to 15 years, we see a ramping up of Wi-Fi usage, for example, at all of the stadiums over the years. For example, if we go back 10 years to 2015, they report that the University of Phoenix Stadium had about 6.2 terabytes of data used on their Wi-Fi network. Fast forwarding to this last year, or to 2024, that usage number went up to 34.8 terabytes. So quite a big growth data usage. To give you an example of what that equates to, 6.2 terabytes 10 years ago would be the equivalent of every attendee, roughly 60,000 attendees of the game, using Instagram for an hour straight without any breaks. That sort of gives you a sense for what 6 terabytes of data looks like. Look at last year, that amount of data on the Wi-Fi network grew by fivefold. So that'd be the equivalent of every attendee surfing and using Instagram for 5 hours straight without a break. So that kind of gives us a glimpse into the growth of data usage, and it makes us appear as if we're using much more data year over year, which would make sense. This last year was a bit of an anomaly, however. The Wi-Fi data usage dropped from 34.8 terabyte last year to this year just over 17 terabytes. So roughly half the data usage was used on the Caesars Sports Dome Wi-Fi network than what was used the year before at Allegiant Stadium. Some wonder if that is an indication of problems with the Wi-Fi network at the stadium, and it could be. At the same time, Verizon came out and reported that they actually told their users to turn off their Wi-Fi and use their cellular data network, and they touted that they offered roughly 38 terabytes of data to their customers on their cellular network in the stadium. But if we look closer at the data, it actually doesn't paint the picture that a lot of these reports try to paint. If we look at the combined usage of AT&T, Verizon, and Wi-Fi networks over the last 5 years at Super Bowls, we actually see a relatively flat amount of usage. Even if we look at usage per customer, per attendee, we can iron out and take away the anomaly of having a lot fewer attendees during the COVID year of 2021. And so if we look at that, we see somewhere between 1 and 1.7 gigabytes of usage per attendee at the game, which is a lot. That's quite a bit of data. But it is relatively flat. 2021 had roughly 1.6 gigabytes of data per attendee. The low was the next year, 2022, which was 1.1 gigabytes. This last year was 1.3. Years in between, 2023 had 1.5 gigabytes. 2024 had roughly 1.7 gigabytes of data. So we're looking at 1.2 to 1.7 gigabytes of data per user or per attendee during the game. So it really, the growth numbers that we see in these reports have not been as significant as led to believe. However, for me, the fishbowl that the Super Bowl offers into how technology is connecting us humans with our phones and other devices is a little bit more insightful. And what I mean by this is how many of us have struggled with having to constantly manually switch our phones back and forth from Wi-Fi and cellular. We get to a coffee shop, our phone automatically switches over to Wi-Fi because maybe we have an auto SSID provided by our cellular carrier, or if we're like on an Xfinity, how it automatically jumps over to an Xfinity hotspot. And we might have 3, 4, 5 bars on that Wi-Fi hotspot, but the data service sucks and we're stuck on it. We can't leverage our cellular data unless we turn our Wi-Fi off and switch back and forth manually. And for me, what is going on with these Super Bowls is really more a picture about how, while technologies continue to advance, we as consumers are often still left behind having to manually switch back and forth. And this is because we still have these network operators that are trying to capture and hold on to us as part of their business case and not really offering us a holistic solution that really easily could occur. To me, it feels like we should be at this point where Apple, Android, Google Pixel, the phone manufacturers would have a smarter algorithm on our phones where we can prioritize what networks we want to use and in what order, and have the phone be smart about recognizing that, hey, I'm connected to a network that's not offering me good service. Let me go ahead and auto switch me so that I'm not constantly having to pick and decide and choose back and forth. I could base those priorities on quality of the network. I could base it on which networks are free versus which ones I have to pay for. And if we look today, all of our phones have dual SIMs on them. What this means is we can actually have 2 different phone accounts tied to our phone. This is really helpful when we roam internationally. And it also offers an opportunity as private networks eventually get built where, for example, the stadium operator could have their own private 5G network that's separate from a cellular network that they could leverage to try to give customers a different, a unique experience. We might also see these types of private networks at companies where, like, a large manufacturer like a Caterpillar might have a private network for their employees when they're at the facility. But as these phones operate today, we would have to manually select which network that we want our phone to use and switch back and forth. There's a lot of work that's going into algorithms and systems that would automatically switch, but as of today, we still have to manually change. You add to that the announcement of these non-terrestrial satellite networks, like the commercials that T-Mobile put out, leveraging their Starlink partnership, where they're offering customers to sign up and try using those satellite networks for talk and text in areas that they don't have service. And we can quickly see that it's getting more complex for us as users to select and choose which networks we use to best keep us connected. So I look forward to actually seeing a Super Bowl one day where Apple and Android and the phone manufacturers have given us a smart platform that allows our phones to automatically get us to the networks that we want in ways that we want them to, so we're not constantly having to go back and forth and care about which network we're on. So for Connectivity Evolution, I'm Dan. Thanks for listening, and look forward to the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Connectivity Evolution, the podcast that explores how technology enables human connections. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that follow button and be sure to share with your friends and family.